Welcome to The Responsible Resident. I'm Amber Stitt. This podcast takes a common sense approach to financial decisions for physicians, breaking down complex topics into something clear, practical, and usable. Because you shouldn't have to have a finance degree to build financial freedom. In this podcast, we focus on helping you move from information to decision, so you can understand not just what exists, but what actually matters when picking your advisory team. In the last episode, we walk through many of the ancillary features that can be built into a disability insurance contract. And if you listen to that, you probably notice something. There are a lot of moving parts. Some features overlap across carriers. Some are unique. Other features may never be used. And some can become very meaningful depending on how a claim unfolds. So naturally, the next question becomes, how do you actually choose the right combination? And more importantly, how do you know if you're being shown the full picture? This is where the role of the advisor becomes critical, because the advisor you work with doesn't just help you apply for a policy. They influence which contracts you see, how those contracts are explained, and how those features are prioritized. And at this level, it's no longer about one feature. It's about how the entire package works together. Disability insurance contracts can differ significantly between carriers. Those differences can include definitions of disability, underwriting approaches, premium structures, and the types of features that are included or available. So when you're evaluating options, you're not just comparing one rider versus another. You're comparing complete contract designs. And the ability of your advisor to do that well often depends on how your advisor is structured. One type of advisor you may encounter is a captive agent. A captive agent represents one insurance company, which means they are limited to offering that company's products. These advisors often have deep knowledge of that specific carrier and may receive support directly from that company. Things like training, administrative infrastructure, and benefits tied to that relationship. But the trade-off is that their recommendations are naturally limited to what that one company offers. A helpful way to think about the difference between an independent advisor and a captive advisor is to compare it to a physician's office carrying products or medications. For example, a practice may primarily carry one cosmetic injectable, like Botox, because purchasing larger quantities from one company can create efficiencies, incentives, or preferred pricing relationships. The same can happen with skincare lines or other medical products. There can be operational and financial advantages to focusing on a single company's solutions. The insurance industry can work similarly. Captive advisors are often limited to offering one carrier's products, and there may be compensation structures or incentives tied to staying within that company's lineup. Independent advisors, on the other hand, typically have access to multiple carriers and policy structures, allowing them to compare different contract definitions, underwriting approaches, and pricing options based on the physician's specific situation. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong, but understanding the difference helps physicians make more informed decisions about how their disability insurance recommendations are being evaluated. If an advisor only works with one or two carriers, the contracts and features you see will reflect that. An independent advisor works differently. For physicians, this broader view can be especially helpful because different carriers may approach underwriting, specialty definitions, pricing, and contract features in different ways. And when you layer in all of the ancillary features we discussed in the last episode, the differences become even more nuanced. This is where the value of the right advisor really shows up. Not in listing features, but in helping you evaluate which combination of features, structure, and cost creates the most value for your situation. Because two policies can look very similar on the surface, but perform very differently depending on how they are designed. I'd like to take a second to tell you about a free medical professionals blueprint that I created with you in mind. At some point in your career, you realize it's not just about making more money. It's about making decisions that actually support your life. That's exactly why I created the Pathways Perspective for Physicians. It's a simple, non-technical framework to help you think through your career, your money, your risk, and how everything connects as your life evolves. You shouldn't have to have a finance degree to build financial freedom. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need a place to start. You can download the free Medical Professionals Blueprint at stittstrategies.com/blueprint. There's also a practical side to this process that's important to pay attention to. If you're not being provided with formal, detailed quotes, typically in a PDF format, once you have made a selection, or you're not given access to policy details in advance when you ask for them, it's worth taking a closer look at the caliber of the advisor you're working with. This is not a process where anyone should be winging it, especially with medical underwriting. Medical underwriting is a data-driven process, and experienced advisors can pre-screen for the best outcomes on your behalf. A thorough pre-screen, conducted before a formal application is submitted, is one of the most important steps in getting the best possible outcome. While there are never guarantees, an experienced independent advisor can collect both medical and financial information upfront and use that to approach multiple carriers. That allows you to see which company is most likely to offer the strongest terms for your personal scenario, the most favorable structure, and the highest level of coverage available to you. There's also another important part of the overall design process that often doesn't get enough attention, and that's whether your advisor is thinking ahead with you beyond where you are today. For physicians in training, your situation is going to change. Where you live, how you're compensated, and how your income is structured can all look very different after residency or fellowship, and those details matter. Some purchase options are built using blended state rates, which can impact pricing depending on where you end up practicing. If you move to a higher cost state and that wasn't accounted for in advance, it could affect your long-term cost structure in a way you didn't expect, and vice versa. There is a way to start the contract at a given premium level and then eventually pay less if you move to a lower cost state in the future. This is where forward planning becomes important. The right advisor isn't just designing a policy for your current situation. They're helping you think through where you're heading, your expected compensation model, your potential geographic moves, and how those variables may impact your coverage over time. Because disability insurance is not a short-term decision. It's something you carry with you into your attending years. And designing it with that future in mind can make a meaningful difference in how well the contract performs for you in the long term. From our perspective, this is exactly the type of work we focus on. At MD Disability Quotes, our team works specifically with physicians, and we take an independent approach to reviewing multiple carriers and contract structures before any application is submitted. We use pre-screening strategies to help identify potential underwriting outcomes early, and we help physicians understand how different features may, or may not, impact them over time. Our goal is to create a process that is educational, efficient, and aligned with the realities of a physician's career path. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to choose a policy. It's to choose the right combination of features, structure, and cost based on your income, your specialty, your goals, and your tolerance for risk. So if you're in the process of evaluating disability insurance, a few simple questions can go a long way. Are you working with a captive agent or an independent advisor? How many carriers can they show you for both of your disability and life insurance options? Are they helping you compare complete contract structures or just presenting one option? Are they providing transparency into underwriting expectations before you apply? And are they helping you think through how today's decisions will carry into your future? Because clarity at this stage often leads to better decisions long term. If you'd like help reviewing your options or getting a second perspective, you're always welcome to connect with our team. My partner, Scott Nelson Archer, and I work with physicians nationwide through MD Disability Quotes to help residents, fellows, and attendings understand their contracts and take an independent look at their income protection strategies. Our goal is to provide a clear, structured approach so you can make confident decisions about protecting your future earning power. In the next episode, we'll shift gears as we head into the final disability insurance episode of our first series. I'll take you behind the scenes of my personal why and share why I'm passionate about helping others plan for greater financial freedom and long-term security. Thanks for listening, And please be sure to give us a follow so you'll be notified when we release more educational content like today's podcast. If this episode helped you think a little more clearly about your next step, that's the goal. You don't need to have everything figured out, but you do need to take ownership and take a meaningful step forward today. Thanks for listening to The Responsible Resident. As a reminder, this podcast is for general educational purposes only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, and coverage options will vary based on your personal situation.